What's up, neighborhood youth, and welcome to week 2 of our current online youth service. We're so thankful we are able to hang out with you guys this week. Man, thank you guys to everybody who showed up last week. We had a blast hanging out with you through our Zoom calls, through our online service, through all the different things that we were doing throughout the week. We hope that you guys are able to join us with some of those things this week as well. So stay up to date on all things youth through our youth Instagram at NBHD_YTH, and then we'll be able to hang out with you guys and connect with you throughout the week as well. Man, just know that we love you guys, we're praying for you, and if you have any questions about anything going on, feel free to shoot us a DM as well. We hope you guys enjoyed today's service, and we can't wait to hang out with you soon.
Good job. Hey, don't. Never ever evict your parents, okay? So I run through the maze, and then I find there's some guy named Queez. Queez, boring man. Gremlin, T Squeerfish.
Minus opposite.
Janitor, snout link.
Dirt stick. Nothing else.
No. They got boulders up in here? Cause look, I don't have time for no boulders.
Ain't no boulders here.
Yeah, could be.
Loco.
Mm-hmm. You know what? That's rubbish. Yeah, that's bad. Marionettes? Say, you ought to buy my electric guitar. You could buy the thing that has made me famous. The guitar. Oh, so do you want to go out later?
You should be nice to me. You hear?
Yeah, I hear. I should be nice to him, Jim. Hey, I meant to tell you. I saw you sniff your shoe. Your face is a face I've been avoiding for 7 years. If I have to look back at it, I'll break down for show. I'm on my horse, guys. A stallion. Ice. Lightning. Grr, 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 grr. Repel. Return. Fright mode. Wait, no. Oh dear. You know I've got over 41 traffic cones? It's like heaven in a pickle, heaven in a pickle, heaven in a pickle, heaven in a pickle. I don't want to talk about y'all's new baby. Hey, you ever hear of the Kraken? I heard you're dating the Hawk Woman? Uh-oh.
Have you ever known somebody, or maybe you were this person who needed to be saved because you started to drown at the pool? You see, growing up, I had this phobia of water where if I couldn't touch the bottom of the ground, I didn't want to be in the pool at all. And so as a result, I actually didn't learn how to swim until I was about 10 years old. Don't judge me, some of you guys got your own problems too. But my fear of water, I was thinking back to it, all started this day when I was a little kid, and I decided to go to this local pool, and they had this water slide, and all the kids were going down the water slide, and it looked like a lot of fun. And so, not realizing how deep the bottom of the pool was, I decided to go down the slide. And it wasn't until I actually hit the water and began to sink that I reminded myself, oh, you actually can't swim. And you see, I remember it vividly, going down into the water, hitting the bottom of the pool, and there was this moment when I kind of just froze. And I felt stuck because I really didn't know what to do. I was in this place where I wasn't comfortable with my surroundings, and I was outside of my normal element. Eventually, this lifeguard came and they picked me up out of the water and saved me, and everything was okay. Obviously, I didn't drown, but the experience was so impactful and so uncomfortable that I can still picture that moment of my life and remember it vividly. You see, if we're being honest, how many of us have ever felt like, or currently are feeling right now, that we're in an uncomfortable position? See, the truth of the matter is, with everything that's going on in the world, that we've all been tossed down this metaphorical water slide of life, and we're sitting at the bottom of a pool, and we're in this element that we're not comfortable with ourselves. Maybe you're watching this and you're feeling a little bit of stress, or you're feeling anxiety, or maybe even a little bit depressed because of social distancing. Or maybe this all seemed like fun and games for the first week and everything was great and you didn't have to do all this school classwork, but now you're a week into it and you're really not having much fun anymore. Or maybe for others of us, you are simply fearful because of the unknown, because of what we can't control and what's going to happen next. Wherever you are along the line of the spectrum, I want to encourage you that although you might feel physically like you're alone, that you're not where you want to be, that you are not alone with how you feel. You see, the truth of the matter is that life is a little bit hard right now. And it's probably going to look a little bit different for a little while. But honestly, aside from this pandemic, when is life not hard? I'm not here to tell you that everything's going to be perfect and you're never going to have to feel any sort of negative feelings or to cover up the truth of what you really are feeling. But I want to remind you and I want to encourage you that in this time, what we've been talking about all year long is about who our God is. And that when we have any sort of troubles, and when we face hard times in this world, to not worry, but to trust and to believe that our God is bigger and greater than any sort of trouble that we might ever see. And so I want to take us back a few thousand years about a time when this guy named Jonah was alive. And in his day, Jonah was a prophet, which simply just meant that he was the guy who talked with and met with God and then communicated that conversation with the people or concerning the people. And so we're going to pick up in this story about his life where this guy named Jonah is actually trying to run from something that God has previously asked him to tell a specific people group. And he decides to head in the opposite direction. He decides to get on a boat and cross the Mediterranean Sea, completely the wrong direction of where he was supposed to go. But the story moves on, and eventually while he's on this boat, he's in the middle of the sea, this storm comes over the boat, and it's this big, dangerous storm, and it starts to threaten the lives of everybody who's on the ship. And after a series of events, Jonah determines that it is God actually trying to get his attention with something. And the only way to save the lives of the people who are on the ship is to get him off of the boat. And so he jumps off the boat into this raging sea where we see that he's eventually swallowed up by this giant fish. You see, things in this moment went from 0 to 100 really, really quick. Jonah was just living his life when all of a sudden he just had this disagreement with God for whatever reason, goes the opposite direction, hops on a ship. And because of the storm, he was forced to sacrifice himself for the sake of other people and then is swallowed up by this fish. Maybe there are some of you in here and you're watching this and you feel like you're in this is the position you're in. That one day you were just living your life. You were just doing things like you always do. And then the next day, things go from 0 to 100 real quick and your entire life changes. But here's where the story gets good, because it wasn't the end of Jonah's story. It goes on to say that Jonah ends up surviving, and he lives inside of the belly of this giant fish for 3 days, unable to go anywhere, basically quarantined, just like us. And in the midst of being trapped, he doesn't just ride this thing out, but he decides to do something unique. He decides to pray. And listen to this very first part of what he says in his prayer. It says this, it says, "In trouble, in deep trouble, I prayed to God, and he answered me. From the belly of the grave I cried, help, and you heard my cry." He keeps praying, and at the end of his prayer he says this, he says, "When life was slipping away from me, I remembered God, and my prayer got through to you. It made it all the way to your holy temple. Those who worship hollow gods, God frauds, walk away from their only true love. But I am worshiping you, God, calling out in thanksgiving." I want to focus on that. It says, "But I am worshiping you, God, calling out in thanksgiving. And I will do what I promised to do. Salvation belongs to God." And then we're told that in this moment, the fish threw him up onto dry land, and Jonah walks away safe. You see, whatever you're feeling today, I want to encourage you of this, that even in your lowest moments of life, when you feel isolated, when you feel afraid, when you feel alone, that God still hears your prayers and that he is always working for his glory and for our best benefit. Can I just suggest to you in this moment that, like Jonah, our job isn't to try to work ourselves out of this position we're in. It's not to just try to ride it out, vegging out on maybe video games, social media, Netflix, whatever it is, but that sometimes we simply need to just sit and pray and lean into the promises of God. Neighborhood youth, some of us need to be reminded of this, that God is for you, even in the most uncomfortable situations of life. And although things will look a little bit differently in this world right now, when we come out of this thing, we will as well look a little bit different. Because we chose not to allow this time to hinder us or to just simply get by, but to thrive and to grow closer to our Creator than maybe ever before. And so I want to encourage you in this moment of feeling like you're maybe at the bottom of your pool, or you're in the belly of a fish, or you're feeling isolated at home and you feel like you can't go anywhere or do anything, to in this moment to lean in, to pray, and to be reminded about who our God is, and to trust in His goodnesses and His promises for each and every one of our lives. So we're going to break up into a time of small groups. You're going to get on your Zoom calls here in a few moments and talk about this with some of your small group leaders. But before we do, I just want to pray for us. And then we'll break up into the small groups. So God, I thank you for this opportunity. God, I thank you for everybody listening to the sound of my voice, Lord. Lord, I pray for whatever situation they might feel that they're in right now, whether it's an uncomfortable situation, whether they're feeling anxious, whether they're feeling a little bit lonely, whether they're feeling like nobody understands them, nobody sees their circumstance. Maybe there's some people listening right now and they're stressed out about things that have nothing to do with the coronavirus. Lord, I pray that you remind them that you still see them, that you hear them, that you are for them, God, that you love them, and that you have never been closer, Lord. And that in this time, that it's not a time of punishment, Lord, but it's a time of being able to sit and wait in the presence of you, Lord. And so I pray and I encourage every single person listening today, Lord, that you are for them, Lord, and that you remind them that your peace will surpass all understanding, Lord, and that you love them and that you chose them. We love you, God, and we're so thankful for this moment. It's in your name. Everybody said.